Welcome to ACC Stars, Where Are They Now? I'm Erin Summers. I'm a sports broadcaster that's covered the Atlantic Coast Conference for a very long time, and I grew up a fan. I've always been curious what players do after we obsess over them in college. This podcast answers that question. Each week, you'll hear an interview with a former ACC athlete. We'll find out everything they've been doing since playing in college. Thanks for listening. Let's jump in to ACC Stars, Where Are They Now? This week, I'm joined by former Syracuse guard Eric Devendorf. Devendorf averaged nearly 16 points per game his senior season and later returned to Cuse as an assistant coach. After 7 years playing overseas, Devendorf has stayed close to the game, playing for Boeheim's Army in the basketball tournament. Here's our conversation. Eric, I really appreciate you joining me on this podcast today. But before we get into anything, I know people are going to give me a hard time because when you played at Syracuse, you weren't technically in the ACC. While you did come back and join the staff at Syracuse when they were in the ACC, and you're a huge part of the Syracuse family still, I think that it kind of works. So we're going to not worry about that part of it and kind of continue like you're an ACC star. So thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today, and where are you calling in from?
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you having me. And I'm here in Syracuse, New York. So we got a little bit of snow. It's cold. It's regular Syracuse weather.
Yeah. How long have you been in Syracuse?
So I've been in Syracuse ever since I left. This is my home. I played overseas for 7-8 years, and I'd go overseas and then I'd come back. So I'd be back here every summer, working out with the guys and keeping those relationships close up there with the program. I'm always around. So Syracuse is my home. I love to be here.
When you were young and you were trying to figure out what you wanted to do, what sport you wanted to play, why was basketball what you started to do?
So it's funny. Somebody asked me this the other day. Actually, I love to play football. I was basketball and football, but I remember my freshman year, I went out for JV football, and after the first practice, my mom found out. And she kind of X'd that football out, just she didn't want me to get hurt. So it was basketball from then on. And, it worked out for me. But my dad, he put the ball in my hand young. I was probably 7-8 years old. And I just really fell in love with the game. I really didn't have to have anyone, push me or tell me to go outside. I mean, I'm from Bay City, Michigan, a little town. And the weather's kind of the same here in Syracuse. So I remember, waking up before school in the morning, chipping the ice or shoveling the snow. Rain or shine, I was out there playing. So my dad introduced it to me, and I just kind of took it and ran with it.
Your senior year in high school, you decided to go to Oak Hill, which is a very prestigious school for basketball. What was that experience like?
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, again, coming from a small town, I mean, it's only 35,000, 40,000 people. And so I was always the best basketball player in my town and, around my area. But when I was able to go to Oak Hill, my first introduction to Oak Hill was me walking into the gym, seeing a 6'10", 6'11" guy handling the ball like me and shooting the ball like me. And it happened to be Kevin Durant. So, it was, for me, it was a prep before college. We had a college schedule. We traveled like a college team. The talent on our team, we had 8, 9 Division I players, along with, Tyler Lawson, Kevin Durant, Jamont Gordon, just to name a few guys. But it really helped me, man. Unbelievable experience to be able to get out there and play with that type of talent at such a young age. Like I said, it really just prepped me for my year going into Syracuse. And, the transition was more smooth, going from Oak Hill to Syracuse. It really helped me, definitely.
Looking back at those players that you played with and Kevin Durant and what he's done now, how cool is it that you were able to play with him back then?
Unbelievable. I mean, an unbelievable experience. I mean, I just remember his work ethic. And, all we really had to do up there, obviously, because we were just in the middle of the Appalachian Mountains, they just stuck us right there on the hill. But we just had basketball and homework. And I just remember, playing 2-on-2 with him, Taiwan and Jamont, every single night. Or he was just always in the gym, asking, hey, do you want to go get shots? You want to go play one-on-one? And you could just tell from his work ethic that he was going to be super special. Obviously, I didn't know he was going to be one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but you knew he was going to be special. And, to have those experiences and share those with, the players that I work out now. And I was working at Detroit Mercy, and Golden State came in practice at Detroit Mercy. It was a couple of years ago, and I ran into him. And it was cool to just kind of share those memories going back and forth with, some stories from Oak Hill. So unbelievable experience to have played with KD and played at Oak Hill in general.
When you were thinking about where you're going to go play in college, what was your recruitment process like?
So I really had my choice. Growing up in Michigan, I was considered the top player in the state. So at that time, what the top player did was either go to Michigan or Michigan State. And I committed to Michigan State my sophomore year. But what happened was 2003, I was at the game at the Breslin Center, and they happened to be playing Syracuse. And that was the year that Syracuse won the national championship with Melo and GMAC and Hakeem. And I just remember watching them play and the pace they play with and the freedom that coach really gave those guys to play. And that was me. That's what really suited my game. So I remember telling my AAU coach that, we might have to decommit and see what's going on with Syracuse. Because at the time, nobody was recruiting me. I was committed. So I remember telling him that. I called Coach Izzo, which was tough. It wasn't easy. He wasn't too happy about that. Opened up my commitment and called Syracuse, and they came to Detroit that next week, watched me practice, and offered me a scholarship on the spot. It was Coach Boeheim, and at the time, Coach Troy Weaver, who's now the general manager for the Detroit Pistons. So it happened to be that I was at the game. I saw Melo and GMAC, and I fell in love with the Cuse, and that's really how it went, man. And I had a lot of schools recruit me, like Louisville, Florida, Michigan State, North Carolina. But when I saw Syracuse play, it was like a match made in heaven. It fit me. It fit my style. I love how Coach gave the freedom to his players to really just play through the mistakes and keep going. And it worked out for me.
Coach Izzo is such an even keel guy. I'm sure he just loved that conversation.
Oh, it was. You know what? I was 16, and I remember he was upset. He was like, "Man, this might be one of the worst decisions you make." And at the time, it's tough because I was from Michigan. I was one of the top players, and Michigan State. You don't want to let those guys get out of state and start going to other schools. So it was probably tough for him at the time, but I actually ran into Coach Izzo when I was on staff at Syracuse, and we beat him in the Sweet 16 in Detroit. And we didn't really talk about it, but he's an awesome guy, and we talked a little bit. But yeah, I'm happy with the decision that I made. But obviously, Coach Izzo, he's a Hall of Fame coach.
Absolutely. At Syracuse, you had a great career. Your senior year averaged nearly 16 points per game. You had the opportunity to continue to play there for another year, but you opted out of that. Why, at that point, did you decide that you'd kind of done everything that you wanted to do at Syracuse?
At that time, I had a lot going on off the court. I mean, I just had my daughter, so I was thinking about a lot of other stuff. How do I got to take care of my daughter? How do I get some money and things like that? Do I look back sometimes and be like, dang, I could have been the all-time leading scorer if I would have had that, what came back for that year. And we talk about it a lot amongst, my former teammates and friends. But I think, everything that I went through at Syracuse, everything I did really put me into the position I am now. All the learning curves, all the ups and downs that I went through, it really helped me be where I'm at now. And I'm comfortable where I'm at now. I'm in Syracuse, like I said. I'm doing a lot of stuff in the community. I'm involved with the basketball program, even though I'm not there. I'm just like a phone call away, and I'm always talking to those guys. So I'm happy what I learned going through those up and downs at Cuse, and it's made me who I am today.
What were some of your favorite moments or memories from playing there?
Well, my favorite one is my favorite one is the 6 OT game. That's no question. I get asked.
Yeah, I have that March 12th, 2009, right? I have it written down.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And it was, I think the game started at between 8:30 and 9, and it didn't end till like 1:30. And by the time we got back to the hotel, it had to be 3:30, after we get done talking to the media and showering and all that. And actually, me and my roommate Renze, we went to a diner at 3:30 in the morning. I just remember everybody in the diner who was there. It wasn't a lot of people, but they stand up and start clapping because they just got done watching the game. So it obviously that right there sticks out as my best memory. But also my freshman year, the Big East tournament run with GMAC, where he just went crazy and we won 4 games in 4 days. At that time, it never had been done, and people were giving GMAC a lot of crap the whole season, and they didn't know he was hurt the whole year with a injured groin and injured foot, but he played through it. And then for him to go on that magical run, 4 games in 4 days, it was special to be a part of. And we still talk about that, obviously, and then the 6OT as well.
What about your senior year when you jumped on the scorer's table?
Yes, that was the 6OT. Yeah, that was the 6OT. So I jumped up on the scorer's table after I thought the shot was made. And obviously I thought it was made because I wouldn't have jumped up on the scorer's table. But
right, but it was late.
It was late, but I tell everyone, if it would have counted, we wouldn't have been talking about the 6OT game ever, and the setup was perfect. It was ESPN, Big East tournament, Madison Square Garden. We were playing against UConn, our rival, Coach Calhoun and Coach Boeheim, a lot of history right there. So all those emotions built up. I just turned and saw it, and I sit up on the table, and I tell everyone it was kind of the setup for the drama. That was the beginning part of the drama, and then obviously the 6OTs were the finishing. But I wouldn't take anything back in that moment. It was pure adrenaline and pure love and compassion for the game, and it makes for a great picture.
You're still very close to the Syracuse family, Coach Boeheim. What was it like being able to play for him and learn underneath him?
Oh, unbelievable experience. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, how many coaches can say they've been at the same university for 46 years, 47 years, whatever it is? I think this year might be his 46. But not too many can say that. And I tell people all the time, we could talk about Roosevelt Bowie, who was Coach Boeheim's first recruit. He's treating me like we played on the same team. You know what I mean? Because we all have those similar stories and that we can share with each other because we had the same coach. And not a lot of people do that. You see coaches, they go through 2, 3, 4, 5 coaches in that time span. But it just makes Syracuse that special. That family atmosphere, that culture that coach has built. And he really, one thing that I really took from him is just being able to learn how to be patient and be calm and stay composed. If you see him in the game, it doesn't matter if you're up 20 or if you're down 2 with 30 seconds left. He stays composed, and he's always able to draw up the play to be able to give us the opportunity to win the game. So I kind of try to put that into my life. When things get hectic and can get out of whack, patient, be composed, and helps you make better decisions.
Absolutely. You mentioned before that you kind of wanted to start your professional career after your 4 years at Syracuse. What was the decisions that went into that and the opportunities that were in front of you?
Well, I mean, like I said earlier, I had a daughter, so I was thinking about her. I wanted to be able to make some money. And then I was young, man. I would like we just talked about being patient and being composed. I really wasn't that back then. I was kind of just making decisions right away without really putting any thought into it. But I don't regret it. Like I said, it put me to where I'm at now, and I learned from it. And I think for me now, it's helped me to talk to kids who are going through the similar situation that I went through. And now I can kind of give them a heads up of what to do and what to look for, stay patient, be able to make those good decisions. So, but again, I went overseas and played 7-8 years, and I had some unbelievable experiences. I got to go, travel the world and get paid to play basketball. I mean, it's like a free vacation to me, you know what I mean, and get paid for it. So I went to Turkey, New Zealand, Australia, Israel, Greece, just to name a few, Ukraine. So I got to see the world. And again, I'm from Bay City, Michigan, so it's a little town. Not a lot of people, going on vacation is like going to Detroit. You know what I mean? So not a lot of people can say that they got to travel the world and get paid to do it. And what that did for me was wonders, because it just opened my mind and opened my mindset to a whole nother level. So I'm thankful and grateful for those experiences.
It's something that I'm always so jealous of, that a lot of you got to go travel for so long and play and experience so many different places. What were some of your favorite cities that you got to go to?
So I lived in Melbourne, Australia for 7 months. Definitely one of my tops. I mean, it's like New York, but then you go right down the street and it's the beach. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I had a house where I lived downtown, but then I go 3 blocks down the street and it's called St. Kilda Beach, which was unbelievable. And then I lived in Auckland, New Zealand, and Wellington, New Zealand. That's my favorite country by far, just because the people, it's so welcoming, and they always say, "Hey, no worries, mate." Like that's kind of their saying. And I lived there on a couple different occasions. That those two places really stick out in my mind. And then also Israel and Greece. I lived in Athens, and I got to be in Tel Aviv for a little bit. So um, and I'm just blessed to be able to see the world, and like those cities right there that I mentioned, like those are top notch cities. Like those are some
Mhm.
places where you would want to experience to go for sure.
Yeah, and you got paid to go there.
Absolutely, no question.
So I was watching some video last night of you playing overseas, and some of these gyms, the atmosphere a little different than maybe the Big East tournament, playing in the Carrier Dome. What was it like, kind of switching from playing the college level basketball to going overseas and playing in some of these places?
Well, it's different because now it's a business, right? So now it's money involved, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do, they're not going to sit you; they're going to cut you and send you home. You know what I mean? So, and obviously, the language barrier and the crowds are much smaller. But I love to play basketball. I love the game. That's what I love to do. So I try to look at it, look at all the positives from it. Again, I get to travel the world. I get to be paid to play basketball, and I get to experience different people and different cultures while I'm there. So, I was just trying to go out there and play the game that I loved, and then look at the positives as well. Being able to experience a different culture and being a whole different place.
What were the fans like?
So in Australia, in New Zealand, everyone speaks English, so they were real good. And then in basketball, it just started to really evolve and start to get to the next level. And now you see Australia, they're bringing guys to the NBA left and right now. That country has really evolved as far as basketball goes, and same with New Zealand. In the countries that really didn't speak much English, like I was in Ukraine, that they were speaking
Mhm.
Russian. It was just different, a lot of science. Almost like if you watch like a soccer game and how they are over at the soccer game, they got the big banners and everybody's shaking them and stuff like that. And um, yeah, it's different, man. But it was cool. Like it's just cool to experience different things. You know what I mean? Like I said before, it opens your mind up to a whole different perspective, right? Like I never knew somebody was living like this, or I never knew they approached something like this. So, and I think, for young guys growing up and playing, and might not be in the NBA, but if you get the opportunity to go overseas, like embrace that. And I was just talking to Paul Harris on my podcast not too long ago, and he kind of hit it on the head. You want to go over there and embrace what they're doing, because you can't go over there and expect them to adapt to you. You got to go over there and adapt to them and kind of embrace their culture. So, for all the young players growing up, that's something really to keep in mind. And it helped me overseas.
Mhm. You played 7 years over there. When that was done, why did you decide that you were done playing? And then what was next?
Well, I never really decided that I was done playing. I still play. I still play in the summertime with
Hmm.
Boeheim's Army and the TBT. So I still got a little left in the tank. I love to do it. But for me, it was about my family, my daughters. I got 2 daughters, 12 and 10. So I wanted to be able to spend as much time as I can with them. And obviously, at any level, when you're playing basketball, coaching, it's a lot of sacrifice. So, I wanted to be here and spend as much time as I can and with them. And, I started training kids, younger kids, older kids, pros. And I'm blessed and grateful to have a lot of support here in the Syracuse community to where I can do a lot of other things as well. So, yeah, I guess I'm not officially retired, but I am retired, I guess. So,
No, you are still playing
right.
in the TBT in Boeheim's Army, as you mentioned. How did that come about, and how fun has that been?
Yeah, so Our GM Kevin Belby, who is a Syracuse alum as well, he reached out to me. It had to be 6 years ago. I was in New Zealand. I was in New Zealand playing, and he was like, "Man, there's this money tournament coming out that a lot of college alums are going to start playing in." And you know me, whatever, you know, if when basketball is involved, and especially if you put $1 million,
Yeah.
I'm interested. We got a team together that first summer. Really enjoyed it. TBT does an awesome job of setting it up, and they throughout the years they've just evolved and got so much better with it. But besides me, the fans, I mean, they love it. You know what I mean? Like Syracuse fans, when we had it here in Syracuse, I mean, they sell it out. It's all orange. When they did it in Brooklyn and New York, it was all orange. So it's kind of like that feeling like you're playing back in college again. You know what I mean? And now I get to play with Hakeem Ward, guys who I grew up watching, you know, or guys who grew up watching me play. I get to play with them, you know. So it's something really special, not only for us, but I think for Syracuse fans in general. And again, like the support is unmatched. I really don't know a fan base in college basketball that really sticks with their players throughout and then after. You know what I mean? Because I'm in Syracuse and they treat me like I'm still on the team. You know what I mean? So it's a special community to be a part of, and you know, I'm happy that we were able to kind of bring that excitement for them in the summertime.
It was great this summer too, with everything that was going on for them to be able to have it, the bubble atmosphere. How weird was that?
It was different. I mean, you know what? Somebody said this to me and it made a lot of sense. It was kind of the same as being overseas. Like if you're in a country and it's not a lot going on, you're just going to go in your room, go to practice, go in your room, go to practice. So it was kind of that same type of feel. But TBT did a great job of just making sure guys were safe. You know, we got tested every single day. You know, if they had a positive, they would send the whole team home. So they made sure everything was, you know, the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. They made sure they covered all their bases. And it was a different experience, a unique experience, but nonetheless, it was good to play this summer and just give fans, especially because it was in the early stages of everything going on. So to give those fans the outlets from what was going on, it was pretty special.
You've mentioned how much you love being there in Syracuse and giving back to the community. You have ED 23 hoops, and you do a bunch of clinics for youth in the area. You just did a turkey drive for Thanksgiving. Why is it so important for you to be involved in the community like that?
Well, I mean, it's the least I can really do after all the support that they gave me through my ups and downs. I'm not far from perfect. You know, I made a lot of mistakes, you know, in my younger days in college, and they stuck with me. They stuck with me through all the ups and downs. So it's really the least I can do. And then it's what I'm supposed to do as a human being, right? Just give back, help one another. I think, especially nowadays, you know, I think our nation and world as a whole is so much selfishness going on, right? We need more selflessness, and you know, I'm just trying to kind of you know, spread that positiveness and giving back to others, and hopefully when other people see that, they can do the same thing. That's really what it's all about, trying to start that chain effect. You know, oh, he's doing that, let me do it, and then he does it for somebody, then they do it for somebody, you know. So and it really means a lot to me to be able to see these people who really need it, and their faces light up, or some kids, especially the kids, when they get free shoes. Like we had a back to school clinic. They got free shoes and free backpacks, and they got lunches, and then we had a free basketball clinic, like I said. But these kids light up, man. Like it's you wouldn't know how much something like that really means to somebody. You know, just a fresh new pair of shoes changes the kid confidence. You know, now he goes to school feeling a whole different type of way. You know what I mean? Rather than going to school feeling down, and which in turn goes to him not doing his work or him not making friends. Now I got some fresh shoes. Now I want to do my work. Now I want to talk to my friends and make new friends. So, you know, all that stuff goes hand in hand. And I'm just super lucky and grateful, like I keep saying, to have the Syracuse community back me, and then to be able to do those type of things here in the community.
That's awesome. You rejoined the Syracuse staff under Boeheim as a strength and conditioning coach in 2016 when you were done playing overseas. Why did you want to kind of get back on the staff there and kind of start coaching a little bit?
Well, yeah, so I'm probably not a strength and conditioning coach, but it was the title. It was the title. But no, I wanted to stay with basketball, and I remember texting coach when I was overseas in New Zealand and just asking him, hey, is there an opportunity for me to get back on? And, coach being as loyal as he is, he made something happen. And I was fortunate to have 2 years on staff there. And now having played for him, now I get to, coach with him and really see how that process works, being in all the meetings, being in the film breakdowns. And, I got to see what he used to say about me. And now he's saying it about these guys, and it was cool, man. Just really to be able to soak up all that knowledge from a Hall of Fame coach. It's just helped me and bettered me with what I'm doing, trying to help and coach these kids. And, man, I can't say enough about coach. He's super loyal, man. Like whenever I needed some or whenever I needed help, he always looked out in some type of way. And I was fortunate to have those 2 years on staff there, and which really helped me get on staff at Detroit Mercy and experience a whole nother thing outside of Syracuse. So thankful for those 2 years, at Syracuse on staff.
Is coaching something that you want to continue to do?
Yeah, I mean, I want to stay in basketball, whatever it is, and all the stuff that I'm doing now, with the training and the coaching the kids and the community work, and then the podcast, all those opportunities kind of came about from just staying active and just trying to do stuff. And I think the number one thing is being a good person. Like when you're a good person, people want to mess with you. People want to work with you. They want to do things with you. If you're not a good person, then they don't. That's just how it is. And I know it sounds as simple as that. But it kind of is, I guess,
Yeah.
you just want to be a good person. And I think things kind of come to you. And if the opportunity comes about where a coaching gig, opens up, I definitely want to look at it. I got to take my family into account and, see what's going on with that. But, if the right opportunity comes about, definitely want to look at it and hopefully get back into it.
When you were playing, you played in the Big East. When you were coaching at Syracuse as ACC, what was the biggest difference that you saw between the two conferences?
So I'm a Big East guy, so I'm rolling with the Big East. I just think that every single night, the grit, the toughness, especially from the guard position, like these dudes were trying to knock your head off. You know what I mean? It didn't matter if you're playing South Florida, Rutgers. I mean, South Florida, you had Dominique Jones, who was a first-round pick. Rutgers, you had Quincy Doobie, like when I was younger, and then obviously all the UConn and Pittsburgh and guys like that. I think the biggest difference would be the travel, right? I mean, now we're traveling down to North Carolina. We're playing in Clemson, things like that, and obviously the ACC. The history there with Duke and North Carolina and all those teams, unmatched. But I'm a Big East guy. I'm rolling with the Big East, but I'm happy that we're able to establish our name in the ACC as well. And it was tough the first couple of years because we had to kind of get accustomed to playing against those teams, and which are great teams. I mean, Roy Williams and Mike Krzyzewski, 2 Hall of Fame coaches. And those are usually the guys who are really holding down the ACC. So, we were the new guys in town, but I think we've done a lot better job of establishing ourselves, and it'll just keep getting better going forward.
I went to UNC, and I was there about the same time that you were at Syracuse. So I remember that Syracuse team very well, obviously because of that 6 OT game. I watched every single second of it. And I think that helped put you guys on the map. But you guys do play a good brand of basketball. It's fun with Boeheim as the head coach, obviously. Lots of good things coming out of Syracuse over the past several years. So it's been cool to watch. Yeah. All right, you mentioned your podcast a couple times. So what is this podcast that you're doing and where can we find it?
Yeah, so Jeff Goodman and Rob Delster, they reached out to me and they wanted me to kind of do a Syracuse version, Syracuse podcast, get all the old Cuse legends, current players, and just all around, if you're connected to the Cuse program. It's called the Scorers Table Podcast, and I've been having fun with it, man. I've had Coach Boeheim, Coach Hop, GMAC, Coach McNamara, and then recently I just had Paul Harrison, and recently I had Tiana, who's the starting point guard for the SU's women's team. She talked about her story of beating cancer. So it's been fun. It's really, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone because I never really did anything like that. But it's easier than I thought. It's just me kind of sitting back, kicking it with people that I already know. You know what I mean? And obviously, when you get people on that you may not have a relationship with as much, you got to do a little bit more research and dive in a little bit deeper, which is cool. I'm not afraid of the hard work, but I've just been enjoying it, and I appreciate Jeff and Rob for giving me the opportunity, to do something different.
Yeah, a little bit of a journalist, having to do some research and study up on your interview, your questions.
No question. I'm good with that, though. I make sure I'm prepped.
Yeah, there you go. What is next for you? I know you said you're kind of just continuing to ride the opportunities as they come, but maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line, how do you see things for Eric?
I don't know, man. You know what? I really try not to look too far ahead. I just take it day by day, because we never know what could happen, right? Something could happen tomorrow and everything changes. You know what I mean? So I just try to take it day by day and be present and try to enjoy the moment as much as I can. Like I said, all the stuff that I'm doing, staying active in the community and with the trainings and stuff like that, opportunities will arise from just doing that and staying positive. So again, I don't want to look too far ahead. But if I do, I'd say, hopefully a coaching gig or maybe have my own gym, my own building to where I could go in. Obviously right now it's tough in New York. They're shutting everything down. So it'd be good to have my own building where I could just make up my own rules and have the key and go in there. But just going to stay active and keep doing positive things and staying active in the community. And, hopefully things will continue to work out.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this podcast. It's been cool catching up with you, seeing what you've been up to. And everybody needs to check out the Scorer's Table, your podcast, and see what that's all about.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you having me. It was awesome.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast so you don't ever miss an episode of ACC Stars, Where Are They Now?